Taipei from Banff, Canada. Now, to further discuss the G7 summit, I'm joined by Roger Liu. He's an assistant professor at National Sun Yat-sen University, joining us live from Taipei. And we have another guest joining us. He's in former Ambassador Pradeep Kumar. He's a former diplomat. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C., U.S. So I would like to ask my first question to Roger. How are ongoing trade tensions, especially between U.S. and China, and U.S. and EU disputes, being pushed to the sidelines by the ongoing Israel and Iran war in this G7 summit?
Well, I think U.S.-China trade war actually is in the background of the G7, and on this topic, U.S. and Europe generally should be going in the same direction because one of the most important issues that they're going to talk about includes digital transformation, AI, and more importantly, energy security, critical minerals, and all these important items included in the U.S.-China trade talks actually also is being shared by European countries as well. So if the countries can focus on this, actually they can have consensus on this part. But at the same time, like you said, the differences and divergence between EU countries and the US on the Israel-Iran attacks actually is the possible disrupted points that will cause more divergence between the two camps. France, Germany, and other countries of Europe actually has been ready to talk with Iran, while the US has been more on the Netanyahu's side, although it has not voiced a direct support, but it has warned Iran if any US bases have been attacked in that region, actually the US will be involved. So, this actually is another part of that disruption. So I think in EU actually in the G7 this time, actually they have been prepared for that. So this time there will be no joint declaration or statement for anything, so that the consensus can be maintained artificially. So I think this is one of the background.
And now we are moving on to Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor. Mr. Pradeep, I would like to ask that, are we witnessing the global change or shift in the beginning of new G7 realignment, one where global power balances are being tested more openly here?
Well, there has been some realignments and some shifts, as we saw when India hosted the G20. And at that time, we saw how India had gotten the Global South under its leadership as part of the G20. So for Prime Minister Modi to be attending the G7 for the 6th time in a row, and India to be an important partner for G7 in these deliberations, even in Canada, is a very important step forward. We have seen that India has been emerging as an important partner, important player on the global arena. The economy of India is today the 4th largest economy of the world. The population of India is the largest population of any country in the world. The population of the youth in India, the young population of India, is very, very significant in the sense that more than 65% of the population of India is less than 35 years. and they are the drivers of the global economy. So the population of India being more than the combined population of the Western world of all the G7 countries together is a very significant pointer to the fact that the role that India will continue to play in global geopolitics and global economy and in global geostrategy. So there are a lot of significant threats which the world is facing, and the world realizes that. There is the Russia-Ukraine war, which has been going on for a very long time, and it is not showing any signs of let up. It is only increasing, and the European, countries and NATO are also not understanding that this is a very serious matter for Europe, that they are getting weaker, and Russia going closer in alignment to China is another factor of international geopolitics which will impact the Western world even more significantly. It has already impacted very significantly, but it will continue to impact. US has at least started seeing this in a different light, so it is not supporting Ukraine to the same extent that it was when the war started, under the support and sort of egging on by US and the Western world in particular, primarily the US. Now the US is no longer actively supporting the continuation of the war and wants the war to come to an end. So while the deep state and the military industrial complex of US has benefited very significantly from the economic earnings from this war, the current administration is very keen to bring the war to a close. Then in the Middle East, the Israel war in Gaza has again blown up in a different dimension altogether, which was coming for some time, which was expected, which was anticipated, but which has finally happened, and that's the Israel-Iran war, which is now showing no signs of coming under control. So the US also has to play an important role in this, along with the Western world, to bring this to a quick closure. Otherwise, the situation is currently not under control. The India-Pakistan war, with India's magnanimity and India, after destroying Pakistan's air defense and Pakistan's air force planes and Pakistan's capacity to attack India with missiles, was completely decimated. Thereafter, when they requested and literally sort of pleaded with the US and with India to stop the operations, India finally agreed. But India has kept Operation Sindoor in abeyance. It is under pause. The Indus Water Treaty has also been suspended for the time being. So Pakistan will continue to be under a lot of pressure till it really thinks about how it can disassociate itself actively from terrorism, from terror, from being a terror state, from being the epicenter of terror for the world. So that Pakistan has to come to terms with how it has to become a state which is not going to be supporting terror all the time. So that is another significant development, which will again find some discussions at the G7 summit in Canada. Of course, besides Pakistani terror, there is also the Islamic Jihad and the Jihadi Islamic terror, which has been, impacting the world for many decades now. The Western world will also have to deal with it in very significant terms in the G7 meeting, and India will be an important partner in this effort. The Indo-Pacific theater, with China being a very aggressive country, very assertive country, very sort of, putting claims on the territories of other countries, islands, encroaching other countries, disturbing the peace with India in the northern border, disturbing the peace with all its neighbors in the other parts of the, Indo-Pacific, South China Seas, East China Seas. That is an important threat for the world also to understand that they have to cope with it. And for the G7, it will be a very important topic, and it will result in some significant changes as we go along, because the supply chains, the rare earth minerals, etc., all those are important points. The AI of the future, which is going to be extremely important, the generative AI, the energy relationships, the quantum technology, the energy security, the innovation at which India is in the forefront, the digital innovation of which India is one of the leading countries in the world.
So we are now we have to move on to our next story. Thank you very much to both our guests, Roger Liu, he's an assistant professor from National Sun Yat-sen University, and Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor for joining us live from Washington. Now we move on to our next story. The 51st G7